The Horus Heresy Book 2, False Gods by Graham McNeill. The tagline we got here is, "The heresy takes root." This book is very fucking mean. And mean is kind of like an understatement for this one. Because this one just it kind of revs up everything from the first book all the way to 11 for no reason. Well, not for no reason, but because everything is escalating so goddamn far. The way Horus's decline is depicted is very, not sudden, but it's very aggressive, and I think that goes with specifically his personality. I'm gonna try to keep this one a lot briefer than last videos. I think the last one was a lot longer than I wanted it to be, and the editing process is kicking my ass, so I'm gonna try to keep this one a little bit shorter, but still, I have a lot to talk about. I have so much to talk about with this one. This one is good. I was locked in for so long. I just thought this one was amazing. This book is just very aggressive in terms of its story, because the first book kind of gets you into it. And I think it's actually kind of a decent start for those trying to get into 40k, I guess. If you've watched Bricky's video and you've seen and know a basic fundamentals of the lore, it's not as complicated as I would say as some other stories, especially some the shows and stuff where it's it requires you to know a lot more. This one feels a lot more like you could have walked into it, but this second one is just, it starts going to crazy town pretty fast. And the start of the story is pretty slow. Well, not slow, it's just very kind of calmer. It's with all of our characters. They're conversating. We're kind of seeing that Horus is getting a little more agitated. He's angrier. He's not listening to his counsel. And I think with that, it kind of shows more of a side to him that we haven't seen, which is this more of an angry general instead of before where he was this multi-purposed kind of nice leader, kind of someone you could fight behind. But after the war of the Interrex, he is just a much meaner man. He's an angry dude, and not without cause. Erebus is in his fucking ear all the time, just giving him shit to be mad about. His story is kind of getting into an interesting place, because as it moves forward, he starts becoming the Horus we know and hate. Not really hate, it's more we just know he's the bad guy for this story. And that's what it feels like. And I think overall with his story in this, it does get to that point a lot faster than I thought. I thought with this book, they were going to be a lot slower. I thought with 54 books, it was going to be a gradual transition. And book 15 or something, that's when he turns. No, he turns in this one. So yeah, the book starts with a battle. I think it's still with the Interrex. No, I think the Interrex is already over. I think that was a war for 8 months. Now he's been called to Davin, and this was by Erebus. All the other characters are still getting along. Mercedy is still interviewing Loken. Hakasi is still writing poetry. Keeler is becoming more and more fanatical. We meet some Imperial Knight characters who help manage this big giant vessel, or war machine as you would call it. Their story is kind of interesting, of how one is a fanatic for the Emperor and trying to find purpose, but he doesn't have a traumatic reason, kind of like Cinnamon and Keeler eventually do. He just kind of just believes the Emperor is God. I think that's just the way humans work. We just need something to believe in, and he just chose the Emperor to be his vessel in belief. So they go to Davin. They see the Davin population is pretty contained. Then there's an issue. Erebus says that, oh, on the moon of Davin, your confidant Timber, Horus's appointee to watch over the planet with the word bearers, apparently he's gone rogue. He's gone heretical, and they have to go check out the moon and see what's up. And this is where one of my favorite sequences takes place. The battle for Davin's moon specifically, is so engaging. It's so well done. It's very violent and aggressive. It's very horror-like in a lot of ways. It has that Dark Tide / horror movie / Vietnam kind of feel. And I think it's just very well executed in a lot of ways. I think it's just one of those sequences that I was just locked in the entire time. But yeah, the battle for Davin's Moon is very aggressive and crazy and wild and fun, and it's like an actual interesting character study for Horus the entire time, because his perspective in this is that he's like annoyed that someone he appointed is now turned traitor. So he's like angry, so he's not listening to Loken, he's not listening to Torgatin, he's not listening to anybody, and it kind of just leads down to closer to his decline and fall, and it's more upsetting. It's more upsetting if anything else. It's just, you don't want to see it happen, and you know it's gonna happen, and it goes down that perspective so fucking fast. Kind of was just like the whole time being like, I feel so sick about where this is going, but it's interesting. And then the story goes all crazy, and as it keeps going, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier, and then it becomes more of like the 40k we know: magic, sorcery, demons, some dream sequences and shit like that. It becomes something that's very like just out of this world in a lot of ways, but it ends in more of just a very upsetting note of what's to come. It just is like the actual start of the Heresy, I would say. It's just so mean. It's such a mean ending because it just goes into like so many characters we like. We see them just like decline mentally or be taken away, or just see characters that we like just betraying each other. It's like, this is the start of when shit hits the fan in ways that's just like more upsetting if anything else. But yeah, if you are still wanting to like get into the Horus Heresy, if you're not fully convinced with the first one, this one I think will lock you in so fast. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid spoilers as well, because I know I want people to read this, but also it's like hard. The entire thing is just spoiler city. There's nothing I could really like say too much other than you get to meet some new Primarchs and characters. Like you meet Magnus the Red. There's more with the Emperor's Children. There is more with the Word Bearers, and there's a bit more like lore breakdown of like how the Primarchs were made, a little taste of what's to come and stuff like that. It's good, I would say. Now I can get into spoiler talk, because that's where I have a lot to fucking say about it, because, oh boy, let's get into it. Alright, so the story starts with Loken a little off his game, because he's upset about what happened with the Interrex, I think. This is where he's talking to, specifically, like, Mercedy, and I think he gets cut, like, in a training exercise, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, I'm off my game right now. He's kind of just upset about how everything went down. Same as Horus. Horus is a bit more agitated, angry. Abaddon has a lot to say about how deep the remembrances are with the Space Marines now. Between Loken having 2 and them being to go to like every single fucking battlefield they go on, he just hates them. He sees himself as so much above them that a remembrance to him is like, it's like a chore. It's like he has to babysit them, and he's like, I don't care to. Like we're gods in comparison to these insects, kind of thing. Kind of like how Megatron treats like human beings. It's just like that the entire time. But after the incidents and conversations with Abaddon, that's when we start heading to Davin. We see a couple speeches from, I believe, Erebus and stuff, and Erebus publicly disrespects Horus. Horus goes on stage, and Erebus is like, oh, I have something important to say. And then everyone's like, what is it you want to say? And he's like, I can't say, I gotta say it in private. And Horus is like already agitated. It's like, well, fucking say it. It's like, well, your boy, he betrayed you. And he's like, what? What do you mean he betrayed me? And it's like, yeah, on the moon, he's taken your forces, and they're on the moon now. That's why this place isn't fully under compliance, because the person you chose was not right for the job. This rightfully upsets Horus, but Caucasus was there, and he saw the whole thing, and he tells Loken, it's like, Erebus did that on purpose. He did that just to agitate him, so that he would specifically want to go on this mission. So they get to Davin's Moon. The entire 10th Company is there, and all the Mournival and everything, and any semblance of doubt is kind of just like gone. They all are going in together. They all believe in each other. They're going in, and they're ready. Now, as the Sons of Horus, they're ready to do like a major battle together. They get down there with the Titans, with all their ships and everything else, and they are ready. But when they get down there, there's just corpses. There is a diseased forest. It's like a swamp. It's gross and the smell is awful. And also, there is a catch. Horus now has a remembrance. He has his own personal remembrance who's part of like a royal family, who has a bodyguard where she cut out his vocal cords. Apparently for like their family, whenever they have an indentured servant, they just cut out their vocal cords so they can't fucking talk. But he's there. He's ready to fight and defend her while she documents what happens with Horus. Because at this point, Horus is like stressed out and he wants his legacy to be preserved through a remembrance of some kind, like Loken does. And he is starting to slightly open up to this woman. And he's not as open as Loken is. He still sees himself as someone who deserves a lot more grandeur. And even the conversation between him and her about like his place amongst the Primarchs, the jealousy and the anger and the resentment his brothers have for him is very much like, it's not more like just his experience, it's more of like the position he's in is what he's more focused on, and he wants that to be preserved. And he knows that his only place in this world is to be a war master, and it seems like he's more afraid that when the fight is done, he will no longer have any use to his father. If the war is over, what am I after that? We were bred for war, and we're now at a place where there's consideration that the war might be soon over. What do we do with that? It's kind of interesting of him trying to like figure out his place. But when he goes to Davin, he wants to not only just show off, it feels, but it also is like he wants to like squeeze any doubt that he is not a brilliant tactician and a great person who just knows all the plays. And he goes down there thinking it's gonna be a normal fight, and it turns out it's fucking not. It is not a normal fight. They go up against something they've never seen. The full enclave of Nurgle, or Nurgleth, as they call it in this. Nurgle's forces took over all the bodies of the soldiers that were there. They're like these undead corpses that rise from the swamp. They catch everyone off guard. Bunch of characters are near the brink of death. The only way you can kill these things is with a headshot or burn them. And the problem is there's water everywhere, so it's like really you can only do like headshot. The ship that has the remembrance for Horus in it crashes, and she's nearly killed, and the bodyguard literally fights tooth and nail to just keep her alive. And as like Horus and all his forces are trying to fight off this evil undead horde, eventually they subdue it to a certain capacity, and Horus catches up to the remembrance. There's an interesting interaction with this where he asks the bodyguard like, hey, what's your name? And she's like, oh, he can't talk. And he's like, why can't he talk? And it's like, oh, because we ripped out his vocal cords. And you can tell that Horus immediately is like, I don't like that at all. That is not okay. That to me is fucked up. Like, he's a warrior. He should be allowed to talk. And then he like gives his thanks, and you can tell the bodyguard's eyes like light up. And even I think the remembrance is like in that moment, you could tell in his eyes, he's like, I have a new master, and that's Horus. Like, he just was given that level of respect, and he just immediately is like inspired by the acknowledgement, I would say. Instead of just being seen as an indentured servant, he's being seen as an equal warrior to Astartes, which you see later on. They give him such a wild level of respect because of his just valor. And I think that's like, I mean, that could boost your ego a lot, I imagine, or just give you some level of solace in what you're doing. But they pursue on in the swamp. Loken and Torgan are kind of pushed to the side by Horus because Loken wants to do this, you know, he wants this to be a smooth operation. He wants Horus to stay behind. He wants to make sure that the War Master's okay. And the War Master takes it more as like as a fucking insult. And he's like, how dare you think I can't handle myself in a fight? And it's like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if God forbid you go down, all hell will break loose. And turns out he was fucking right. But they go to the source of this signal, which was very similar to in the last book where they were going to the planet 6319, I think. But when they went to the Whisperhead Mountains, and when they started hearing the signal of Samus, and that's what's going on here. It's like, we are the servants of Nurgleth, and it's that type of shit again. And the signal's coming from one of the Imperial ships that is like crash landed. it's decaying, and they go in, and Horus is like, I'll take the front, Abaddon the right, Aximan the left, I think is the position, and then it's like, and Loken and Torgain, you just stay outside. I don't want you in this at all. And you could tell Loken's like, why the fuck am I not inside with you? Like, what do you mean? And yeah, so they go in. Oh yeah, and the word bearers take like the front. And because the word bearers did join in this fight, their position is not really shown like what was going on their perspective. And there's a reason for that. And as it goes on, they go inside. More creatures. One is a big one, and it's like the plague Okrand from fucking Darktide, and then you have other like forces going through, and Horus makes his way for the captain's bridge, and he goes there and he sees Tenber. Tenber is basically like, he's described as like those big like Nurgle like monsters, like where they're all big and bloated and kind of just like this bloated decaying carcass kind of running around. But Horus can also see, like, as he's fighting him, like the warp's like illusion of it, so you can see a screaming man, like Tenber's real body underneath, like through the veil, like screaming in agony. So it's kind of like he's being like mostly possessed, but also like this was his choice, but he's constantly decaying and probably constantly in pain. So you could tell his soul is just, it's not having a good time picking this faction. Yeah, and it's like kind of just that battle is very intense, but also there's a twist. The sword that Tenber is holding against Horus is the same sword that Erebus stole from the Interrex that they said was cursed in the last book. So as that battle's going on, Horus is stabbed, I believe, twice with it. Once in the chest. No, he was stabbed in the chest with a normal blade, but then the one in his shoulder is the cursed blade. And the battle goes down, and Horus eventually wins over Tenber. But Tenber has like insane inhuman strength and speed. He's like literally going toe to toe with Horus and literally nicks him. And after the battle is done, Tenber is like, I'm sorry I betrayed you, Master. I'm sorry I did this, and I felt I had no choice, and I felt I needed to do this. This was my fault. And kind of just, it's a sad moment for Horus. He's like, I picked this man. I chose him to be in my stead, even though he begged me not for this responsibility. And now he felt he had to go against the Imperium in this way, and I feel like this is my fault. Like, he still like gives him a certain level of respect. He's like holding his body. It's genuinely kind of just upsetting in this, of like how like a lot of these characters are not good with grief, especially like these immortal beings where they don't, I feel like they probably wouldn't make as many like human connections as like normal people would. Kind of like the Wolverine effect, where like you're so old that you don't really like interact and have the same emotion towards people as like a normal person would. And you could tell that Horus did have a connection with this Tenber, and he's just so distraught by it. He's distraught by this whole situation. And then they get on the ship and they're on their way back, and Horus collapses. Horus collapses. He needs medical. He is not waking up, and all hell fucking breaks loose. All is fucking gone cattywampus. The War Master, the second to the Emperor, the fucking demigod, is down. And not only that, rumors are he's dead. He's not, but they think he's dead. Like on the ship with Caucasus and Mercedy and stuff like that. As they're going back to the ship, they land and they have him being like assisted by apothecaries and everything else, and people swarm the ship. They want to see if the War Master is dead. They're praying, they're doing all these things, but they're in the way. And a very upsetting sequence happens where the Mournival are holding like the gurney he's on, but the people won't get out of the way. So their solution is just push them, hit them, stomp on them. It doesn't matter. Get them out of the way. And they kill a bunch of civilians. And in the high rise, Mercedy and Caucasus are watching this. They are watching this violence like occur in such a grand fashion. They are so disgusted of like, they just stomped on these people and just killed them just to get this guy to a medical station. And it's like, in one perspective, it's like when they talk about it, it's like, yeah, the War Master's dying. Number one, they shouldn't be in the way. In my opinion, I think the guardsmen and the military should have done a better job making sure the landing pad was completely like open, but they were just overwhelmed, I assume. And it kind of just leads to this basically like a massacre. And Caucasus brain is just completely twisted now, where he's like, I have a new inspiration. I'm going to write poetry that is anti-Astartes because this is unacceptable. And he's right. He's right. Even Loken, when he finds out he's making these poems and this anti-Astartes propaganda, he's like, it is the truth, and I told you to tell the truth, and I'm not going to stop you from writing it. So it kind of just goes in that direction. But at this point, also, Keeler has been like heavily on set of believing in the Emperor. So she's putting up these like little like notes on all the tables, trying to get people to be more like seeing the Emperor as a religious figure, and she's gaining more popularity. She tries to get Kakasi on board, but he's not having it. He's like, hey, we've been told not to believe in religion for a reason by the Emperor. You should not be doing this. And they apparently, from the book, what it says, like they never see each other again, which is really sad because I liked their friendship of like him just trying to flirt with her and she just keeps shutting him down, but they have like funny banter. It's unfortunate, but even by the end of this book, it makes sense why they never see each other again. But yeah, so he gets in the medical bay, or Horus gets in the medical bay. The Mournival, they're crying, they're upset, they're angry, they're losing it. And I want to say this, I have a statement for a series that so many people are so obsessed like with Warhammer, and there's a lot of people who are like angry about like, oh my god, this is peak masculinity, this is masculine franchise from start to finish. There's no dilly-dallying, there's no wokeism, there's no nothing. And it's like, the book is like a good 20% of just men crying their eyes out all the time. It's just men who are insecure, men who have daddy issues, men who are just saddened at anything, like they're afraid of death, they're afraid of like being forgotten. These are people who are just crying all the time. Like the Mournival are crying like in this book so much. Horus is crying. Like so many people, like in this book, I'm like, though, there's so many sequences of people just like upset and crying. I'm like, I don't know what you mean of like this like alpha male shit. Like this is a book of like just men who need each other in such a way. Like they need the friendship of men and women around them just to stay sane. It's like they're just like sad people. But anyway, and Erebus, we learn, is the one who created the lodges for the Sons of Horus, or the Luna Wolves. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I think they did it last book, but I'm pretty sure it's in this one too. No, it's in this book where Loken attends one of the lodges and he's like, I refuse to believe that the Emperor is a god. I refuse that, and this whole secrecy and things I cannot be a part of. And it's kind of like his like he's allowed to leave, but they kind of felt like bad about it and he was giving them shit. But we turns out and learn that Erebus, our beloved Erebus, is the one who started the lodges. Go figure, fucking asshole. So he started these, and he goes to the lodge and he's like, okay, you guys want to save the War Master, don't you? Okay, I have a solution. What if we take him to this big evil temple I know where sorcery takes place, which is against the Emperor's wishes, and that could save your Horus? What if you think about that? And Axeman didn't want to do it, but he was kind of outvoted and he felt like he had to. So as Loken is back on the Davin's moon trying to find the blade that killed, or that like incapacitated Horus, the other Mournival are dragging his body to then the fucking regular like Davin, to then be put in a temple so he can go through the Griffith effect. You know, where like Griffith, like in like during the eclipse, he sees like the hallucination of like his past, and he's being convinced by the God Hand to embrace your future. It is that sequence, but for Horus, and it's a lot longer, and he's more having just like someone walking with him the whole time, which he thinks is the guy from the first book who died at the beginning of the fight for 6319, or False Terra. I think it's Jabal, I think is his name. I think I can't remember. And also we get like a side moment. We get a side moment of Magnus the Red, the Primarch of the Thousand Suns. And I will say this, his plan sounds stupid when they first mention him, of like, oh, I'm gonna use all my psychic ability and push through the warp to reach the Emperor and try to prevent this thing I saw in the future from happening. I feel like that is just a very destructive thing to do of forcing your way through the warp in such a way, I feel like it will cause problems. And from what I hear, it does. He's trying his best to prevent the bad thing from happening. Like, Magnus is like actively trying to like get to Horus to be like, hey, don't do this. Do not cause a heresy, please. You're being deceived. They kind of just get on his ass. Like, Jabal turns out it was Erebus the whole time, trying to convince Horus, and he's like, look at him, he's using sorcery, you can't trust him. And Horus is like, you know, he's right, you are using sorcery when you were told not to, so I will completely not recognize anything that you're saying, even though this man was deceiving me from the start I got in here. Like, it's so funny. Like, he tried his best to prevent this, and then he got the fucking space wolves sicked on him, and he's like, no, I'm trying to help, I'm trying to prevent this, please. It's just so funny. But yeah, so Horus goes through this sequence. He goes through like the past. He goes through like, yeah, what he thinks Earth would look like. Then he sees this industrial hellhole as like showing like the Imperium kind of destroying all that is beautiful in a way, of like humanity kind of destroys everything and makes it industrialized. And then he sees the future where people have like these prayer worlds for the Emperor, and Erebus is trying to convince him of like, oh, you see, your father, he wants to be seen as a god, he wants to be praised. Look what they've done to multiple of these worlds where they just go here to pray, and they have statues of half of your brothers, and you are not among them. And he's like, what the fuck? Instead of ever asking the question why, and asking just one of the people there, being like, hey, why is this happening? And then the answer would be, oh, because Horus caused an uprising and went against the Emperor and works with demons. And I think Horus then would have been like, oh, I mean, that's a good reason why that would happen. And it's like, what? But I thought the Emperor did not want to be praised as a god. And it's like, but we see him as a god, and he's not here to tell us not to because he's dying on a fucking throne because of you. Like, if he knew any of that, it would change the narrative completely. And then he goes into the past, seeing all the Primarchs in their test tubes, and he fights against some like Custodes, and I think it's like Constantine Valakor or something like that, and like who's the head one who's in the second Horus Heresy like trailer, and then that's when Horus is like, I've made a decision. And he wakes up, all the boys are crying, they're happy to see him, they're like, oh my god, our father. And then it cuts to a few months later, or like I think it's like 10 months later, where they're like, Loki comes back from a battle, and like Mercy's asking him like, oh, what started this battle? And it's like, oh, Horus was in the middle of this meeting up with this new group of humans we found called the Brotherhood, and the moment he was trying to present him with a gift, Horus just shot him in the back of the head, causing the war for no fucking reason. For no reason. Yeah, so they go to war with the Brotherhood with the World Eaters. Finally, my boy Angron is present. He's mad as all hell. And yeah, they kind of like, it feels like this section's a bit rushed to me, because like the World Eaters are not given nearly as much like character work as like Sanguinius did, or Fulcrum did, or even Rogel Dorn did. Like, it feels like none of them got the same like they got way more time to develop than Angron. Like, Angron, I don't even think really talks. Like, he mostly just like is pissed because like he gets like fucked over at one point. They attack this fortress, and it's like the final battle of like the book. And during this time, Horus has gone mask off. He's evil. He's mean. He started this war for no reason. He's working with Erebus. He is officially converted onto being just a bad dude. He works with the bodyguard, and he wants to clean house. He got to stop the Astartes, like anti-Astartes propaganda. So he assassinates Caucasus. He assassinates his own remembrance. He even assassinates the general who is the one criticizing what happened with the massacre. And he gets him killed on the battlefield fighting against the Brotherhood. He uses it as a completely wiping of the board. And he also wants to throw Loken under the bus, saying that, oh, the massacre was actually his fault. So we can say that it's specifically Loken's fault and get us away scot-free. And this is where like Horus is also making deals with the Mechanicum. trying to get like their favor so then he can get his own weapons. He is already making alliances with Fulgrim, giving Fulgrim the cursed blade and stuff like that. So it's like at this point it's become mask off. He's gone full evil. There's nothing to stop him now. He is on the move. And the book kind of ends like that, where it's like, we lost two characters. The Brotherhood have betrayed each other. It's literally just Torgaten and Loken against the rest of the Sons of Horus. And this heresy is officially announced on their ship. Like, Horus goes on stage and is like, we are going to take the Emperor's throne and we are going to gain allies in the way. And it's a fucked up, like, story. Oh yeah, I totally forgot that Keeler and Cinnamon were both trying to find like text to confirm that the Emperor is like a god, and in doing so they read the Book of Lorgar and immediately summoned a fucking demon of Zinch. And Keeler takes like a pendant of the Emperor, kind of like the one from Darktide, where if you lift it out, it like shines light and it pushes the demons away. Like, she does that, gets knocked out, and this is like a side battle that's taking place while Horus is like going through his like dream sequence. So she's unconscious, Coxey is dead, and the remembrance of Horus is dead, and the bodyguard is now he's a part of the fucking lodge, and all is fucking shit right now. All is shit. So now we have to see what happens in the next book, which is A Galaxy in Flames. I'm very excited to read this one, so